All right, let's talk about the World Cup. It is the absolute pinnacle of football, right? It's that one giant, gleaming trophy that every single player dreams of lifting. But what happens when some of the sport's certified gods, the absolute legends, never actually get their hands on it? Today, we're diving into the pantheon of the uncrowned.
And this brings up a huge question right off the bat. Is a player's entire legacy really defined by winning one tournament? A tournament that lasts just a few weeks? Or is greatness something bigger, something a trophy can't quite capture? Let's get into it.
So first up, let's talk about the visionaries. These are the players who didn't just play the game, they completely reinvented it. For them, their influence became a far greater trophy than any piece of gold ever could be.
And you simply cannot talk about football architects without starting with the one and only Johan Cruyff. Back in 1974, he was the conductor of this incredible Dutch orchestra that played a kind of football the world had literally never seen before.
What they brought to the world was called total football, and it was a complete game changer. Just try to imagine it. You're watching a team where positions are just suggestions. Defenders are bombing forward to attack, strikers are dropping deep into defense. It was this constant, fluid, beautiful chaos, all orchestrated by Cruyff, and it just mesmerized everyone on their way to the final. Now, they lost that final, sure. But here's the thing. Does it even matter? Cruyff's ideas about space and movement went on to shape entire generations of players and coaches. I mean, modern geniuses like Pep Guardiola built their philosophies on his work. So his legacy is way more impactful than most World Cup winners. It just proves some things are bigger than a medal.
And speaking of artists, we have to talk about Zico. He was the heart and soul of that 1982 Brazil squad, a team that people still whisper about with this incredible reverence. Seriously, they didn't just play to win. They played to create pure art on the pitch. For a lot of people, they were the most beautiful team to ever grace a World Cup. And yet, can you believe it? They didn't even make it to the semifinals. Their shocking loss to Italy is still one of football's greatest tragedies. It's just this painful reminder that the beautiful game isn't always fair. But while the result might have faded, the memory of the beauty they created, that's immortal.
Okay, so we've had the artists. Now let's shift gears and talk about the tragic heroes. These are the guys who got within touching distance of the trophy, only to have it cruelly snatched away in the most heartbreaking way possible. Just picture this for a second. You're Ferenc Puskás. You're the captain of Hungary's mighty Magyars, a team that's considered absolutely invincible. You haven't lost a game in 4 years. You go 2-0 up in the World Cup final against a team you smashed 8-3 just a couple of weeks earlier. It's in the bag, right? And then you lose. The miracle of Bern is still one of the biggest upsets in sports history, and Puskás, one of the greatest goal scorers ever, was left with nothing but a silver medal. Ouch.
And if the Puskás story is one moment of sheer heartbreak, Paolo Maldini's is an entire career of it. Just look at this. 1990, he loses a semi-final on home soil. 1994, he loses the final on penalties. Then he decides to retire from the national team, and a few years later, in 2006, what happens? Italy goes and wins the whole thing without him. For arguably the greatest defender of all time, the timing was just agonizing.
All right, for our last group, let's talk about the absolute icons. These are the players whose individual brilliance was so massive, so undeniable, that the fact they don't have a World Cup feels less like a hole in their resume and more like a weird little footnote.
I mean, what is there left to even say about Cristiano Ronaldo? The goals, the records, the sheer force of will. It's just staggering. He already conquered Europe with Portugal. He has won literally everything there is to win at the club level. He's completely redefined what an athlete can be. His greatness is just a fact. A World Cup wouldn't define him. It'd just be another line item on an impossibly long list of achievements.
And in France, long before Zinedine Zidane became a legend, the undisputed king was Michel Platini. Through the 1980s, he was an absolute artist with the ball, so elegant, a true visionary, and a leader who dragged his country to 2 World Cup semifinals. He really laid the groundwork for all the glory that came after him.
And that brings us to the tragic story of players like George Best. This guy was pure magic, a dribbling genius from Northern Ireland whose talent could rival anyone in history. But here's the thing, football is a team sport, and his national team was just never strong enough to compete on that world stage. It's the sad truth that sometimes a player's genius is just bigger than the opportunity they're given.
So when you look at all these titans of the game, it really brings us back to that first question we asked. Maybe we need to start redefining what victory really truly means.
When it all comes down to it,
A legend isn't just measured by a winner's medal, are they? No. They're measured by their influence, like Cruyff. They're measured by the inspiration they gave us, like Zico's beautiful team. They're measured by the legacies they build and the unforgettable memories they create, things that go way beyond a single tournament.
So in the end, when we look back at all these uncrowned kings of football, we realize a very simple but powerful truth. They may not have won the World Cup,
But they won football itself. Their art, their impact, and their incredible stories are woven into the very fabric of the game we love. And that's a victory that will never, ever fade.